It is 5 a.m., the room is dark. The alarm cuts through silence like a blade. And in that single moment, before your eyes fully open, before your feet touch the cold floor, a war begins inside you. Not against enemies, not against circumstances, against the version of yourself that wants to surrender before the day even starts. Most men lose this war before breakfast. They reach for the phone. They delay. They drift. They allow the mind to be colonized by distraction, by noise, by the comfortable numbness of routine without purpose. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, commander of legions, wrote from his private journal words that were never meant to be published. On the very first moment of waking, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being. He did not wake with ease. He woke with resistance, same as you. But he had a system, a philosophy forged in iron, 8 morning habits that did not make him comfortable. They made him unconquerable. This is not motivation. This is mental warfare. Stoicism is not a philosophy for the passive. It is a weapon designed for men who refuse to be controlled by circumstance, emotion, or the opinions of others. The Stoics did not gather in comfort to discuss theory. They trained the mind the way soldiers train the body, with deliberate pressure, daily repetition, and zero tolerance for mental weakness. You are not here to feel inspired. You are here to be rebuilt. If you are watching this, you are already different from the average man. You feel the pull toward something greater. You sense that discipline is the path, not pleasure. So before we begin, write this in the comments. I train my mind before I engage the world. Say it because it is no longer an aspiration. Starting today, it is your identity. Now we begin. The first habit. Own the first 5 minutes with intention, not impulse. Seneca wrote, let all your efforts be directed to something. Let it keep that end in view. The moment you wake, your mind is a blank field. What you plant in those first 5 minutes determines the harvest of your entire day. Most men immediately surrender that field to social media, to notifications, to other people's agendas. They hand over the most neurologically receptive window of the day to noise that serves no one, least of all themselves. The disciplined man does not touch his phone for the first 30 minutes of waking. He lies still for 60 seconds and sets a single mental intention, one word, one value, one target for the day. Clarity, patience, focus. One word becomes an anchor. That anchor holds when the storms of the day begin to rage. This is not a suggestion. It is the foundation. Master the first 5 minutes, and you begin to master yourself. The second habit. Move your body before your mind negotiates with comfort. The negotiation is always the same. You tell yourself you are tired. You tell yourself you will train later. Later becomes never, and never becomes the slow erosion of the man you intended to become. Imagine a man who has been lying in bed for 40 minutes, scrolling through other people's victories, while his own body grows weaker and his own mind grows duller. That is not rest. That is defeat performed in private. The Stoics understood that the body is not separate from the mind. Epictetus, who was once a slave in chains, trained himself to endure pain, cold, and hardship, not because suffering was noble, but because voluntary discomfort creates the capacity to handle involuntary hardship. Do 10 minutes of physical movement immediately upon waking. No exceptions. No negotiations. Cold floor, warm body, activated mind. The man who moves first thing proves to himself, before anyone else can challenge him, I am in control. The third habit. Practice negative visualization before the day demands it of you. This is where psychology meets philosophy. Every morning, spend 3 minutes sitting in silence and imagining the worst realistic outcome of your day. Not catastrophizing, preparing. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Marcus Aurelius practiced it before every campaign. He imagined betrayal, failure, injury, and loss, not to suffer in advance, but to drain those events of their power to destroy him when they arrived. When you visualize difficulty before it occurs, you shift from victim to strategist. You stop being ambushed by reality. You start meeting it with prepared strength. This morning, ask yourself, what could go wrong today, and how will I respond if it does? Write one line, one potential obstacle, one response. That single act of preparation rewires your nervous system from reactive to proactive. The man who expects nothing and prepares for everything cannot be broken by the ordinary shocks of daily life. The fourth habit: read one page of philosophy before you consume any entertainment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present. Feed your mind only what sharpens it." The weak-minded man fills his morning with headlines, arguments, and content designed to provoke emotional reaction. He hands his attention, his most valuable currency, to systems built to drain it. The strong-minded man feeds his intellect first. One page of Marcus Aurelius, one page of Seneca, one passage of Epictetus, not for knowledge accumulation, but for mental alignment. Philosophy recalibrates the mind toward virtue, toward reason, toward what is within your control. It reminds you, before the world tries to convince you otherwise, that you are the author of your own responses. Consuming philosophy in the morning is not intellectual decoration. It is mental armor. One page every morning without substitution. Not a podcast. Not a summary video. The original text. Sit with its weight. Let it challenge you. That friction is where the mind strengthens. The fifth habit: write your single non-negotiable task for the day before anything else is decided. Momentum is not built through motion. It is built through directed motion. A river does not erode rock by flowing softly in all directions. It cuts stone by moving with concentrated, relentless force in one direction. Most men spread their energy across 20 tasks and complete none with the depth they deserve. Every morning, before your inbox opens and before others begin making demands of your time, you write one sentence, the single task that, if completed today, would make this day a success regardless of everything else that happens or fails to happen. One task, non-negotiable, protected. The Stoics called this eudaimonia, the flourishing that comes from acting in alignment with your highest purpose. Without a clear target, discipline is wasted energy. With a clear target, even 30 focused minutes becomes more powerful than 8 distracted hours. Write the task. Commit to it completely. Then protect that commitment as if your character depends on it, because it does. The sixth habit: practice voluntary silence for 10 minutes every morning. This is not meditation in the commercial sense. This is reclamation. Every day, the world will assault you with noise. Opinions, demands, alerts, arguments, ambient sound designed to keep you mentally fragmented and emotionally reactive. Silence is resistance. The Stoics knew that the undisciplined mind is always fleeing from itself, seeking distraction because stillness reveals what we are afraid to confront. 10 minutes of complete silence, no music, no phone, no input, forces the mind to meet itself. And in that meeting, clarity emerges. Decisions that would have been reactive become considered. Emotions that would have driven action become observable. Marcus Aurelius spent decades in the noise of empire and warfare. Yet his journals reveal a man of extraordinary interior stillness. That stillness was not given to him by circumstance. It was forged through daily practice. Silence is not emptiness. It is where the disciplined man builds his most fortified foundation. The seventh habit: audit your values, not your goals, every single morning. Goals change. Circumstances shift. Markets collapse. Health deteriorates. Relationships end. The man who anchors his identity only to external outcomes is one failure away from total psychological collapse. The Stoic anchors himself to something no external force can remove: his values. Every morning, ask not what you want to achieve, but who you are committed to being. Are you committed to honesty today? To courage? To patience? To excellence in your craft regardless of recognition? This audit takes 90 seconds. It costs nothing, but it rebuilds the internal architecture of a man who cannot be destabilized by loss because his foundation is not located in outcomes. It is located in character. Values are the only property that cannot be stolen. Defend them every morning before the world begins its negotiation. The 8th habit: acknowledge one thing you are grateful for and refuse to romanticize it. Gratitude in the Stoic tradition is not sentiment. It is strategic clarity. When you identify one genuine thing that functions, one capacity you possess, one relationship that holds, one morning that you woke when others did not, you recalibrate your perception of your own resources. The man who sees what he is clearly fights harder to preserve and expand it. Weak men chase what they lack and ignore what they hold. Strong men build power from what already exists. Acknowledge one thing. State it plainly. Then move forward with the energy of a man who recognizes that he already possesses enough to begin. You have now been given 8 weapons. Not suggestions. Not options, weapons. The man who owns his first 5 minutes owns his day. The man who moves his body commands his biology. The man who prepares for difficulty cannot be ambushed by it. The man who feeds his mind philosophy cannot be controlled by noise. The man who protects one sacred task builds momentum that compounds across years. The man who practices silence builds the interior fortress that external chaos can never breach. The man who audits his values every morning becomes his values. The man who sees clearly what he possesses fights with everything he has. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That strength is not given. It is constructed, habit by habit, morning by morning, decision by decision." If this rebuilt something inside you, leave a like, comment your single word intention for tomorrow, and subscribe to the channel because this is where the construction continues. Rise with discipline or surrender by default.